Hey guys, welcome back to Euro Truck Simulator. Captain Clutch here again. Still sitting here with our Volvo FH16. I think today we're still over in Slovakia, going east DLC package. Just getting ready to go pick up our first shipment of the day, and yeah, we'll hit the road. So stick around and we'll see where the road takes us. Alright, so yeah, we're back in the city here. Just heading over to the depot to go pick up our shipment. I think you'll find it's a pretty interesting looking shipment, so yeah, should be a good trip today. Like I said, we're still in Slovakia. This particular trip, I believe, stays in Slovakia the whole way. Might dip out actually at one point in time, I can't remember now. But so it's not a terribly long trip as usual. We're a couple hundred kilometers, probably 200 to 300, I'm assuming. And yeah, so it should be a pretty eventful trip, I'm sure. Just up here on our left-hand side, that blue building is the supply depot that we're going to pick up at. I'm going way too fast here. Not even paying attention. Good thing there's no cops around. Alright. In fact, I believe right in front of us, that tank track or tractor Caterpillar track in front of us is our pickup. So let's grab that. So there it is right there. It's only 11 tons. Looks like, yeah, it stays in Slovakia the whole way. We're going to run across the border to Hungary for a bit and then move back north again. So yeah, that's our pickup. We'll grab that. Pretty light, only 11 tons, right? So that should not be a problem for us at all. I thinking there? Way too fast. I think I must have gone down one too many gears. I think I was in reverse 2 or 3 there. Let's just pay attention here for once. There we go. That's better. Should we get connected properly? Awesome, that's good. That's quite the track. That is a massive backhoe or bulldozer. This must be kind of a backhoe system of mining equipment, right? Let's just get out on the highway here. We'll take a look at what our distance is. Our beacon on. Sure, why not? Looks a little bit of unstable load. We'll put that on. That's pretty cool. Alright. So, for our distance today, we're 248 kilometers. That's not too far. Fairly straightforward load. I don't think we're going to have any difficulties with this. I say that now, and watch, we'll be stuck in rush hour traffic somewhere and completely bummed up. Who knows? Let's see, how much time do we have? We've got pretty much all day to deliver this thing. As long as we're there by 5 o'clock, that shouldn't be a problem. Oops. This trip might be a good chance to talk about different braking systems. I know a few episodes back we discussed air brake systems and how they kind of work, what the whole idea was behind that and why we have them. But I mean, there's a limitation, right? You're still held in check a little bit by the compressor that you have. So when you're going down long hills, you don't want to pump the brakes on an air brake truck because you're going to drain off that compressor. The whole idea is that when you start going down a hill, or if you need a brake for a long period of time, you figure out what the braking pressure you require, and then you'll hold that brake pressure and not deviate from that, so that you're not causing that compressor to come on and off, basically. So what you won't want to do is constantly pump the brakes when you're driving anything with air brakes. So there are some other options for you. There's a couple different braking systems available to kind of mitigate that problem, or limitation that air brake systems have. Let's just get over this other lane here. Now this particular truck, it only has one other option, and that is the exhaust brake, also known as the Jake brake, depending. Now I think Jake was actually the oh, what's this guy doing? Why are you stopping here? Was actually the manufacturer, so Jacob Brakes, I believe it was. Yeah, so it's an exhaust brake, and yeah, so it's one of the main methods of braking, I believe, in North America. It's probably one of the bigger ones. You'll find that on most tractor trailer units. There's also a transmission brake. It's a little bit less known, but it seems like, at least from what I can tell in Europe, they are a little bit more popular. And there's, I guess, pros and cons to each, but I tend to use the Jake a little bit more, or the exhaust brake, just because I like the sound of it, right? When you get that there noise, that's the Jake firing up with the exhaust brake. Pretty noisy. It sounds good, though. There's also, I believe, a turbo brake. I've never personally seen one of those or used it, so I don't really know anything about it. I can't speak to their usefulness. Ooh, this hill would be a good one for the Jake. Look at that. But anyway, so your exhaust brake, what it's doing is essentially it's blocking off the exhaust portals from cylinders and causing some back pressure, and forcing the cylinders in your motor to slow down, just because there's so much back pressure. And yeah, so that's basically what slows you down. Now there's different degrees in the game here, in the simulation. It's actually modeled fairly correctly, but I don't see any buttons anywhere on my dash that manipulate when I activate or deactivate them. So when you have usually an on switch for your Jake, like I have it on right now actually, and I don't see anything change. But so you can turn it on, and then you typically will select high, medium, or low. And what that does is, between those three, it's turning the exhaust baffle on, either in 2 cylinders, 4 cylinders, or 8 cylinders. Now, you know, 2, it's on the lowest setting. If you have it on 8, it's up on the highest setting. So I'm going to turn this on. So right now we are on low, actually, medium, and now high. So you can hear how it ramps up a little bit in noise, and it definitely does affect. I wasn't paying attention to my speed, but it does affect the braking of your truck. And as well, you can note that as soon as you hit the gas, it will, the accelerator, it will disengage the exhaust brake. So it automatically senses that you're giving the truck fuel, and it has to open that exhaust brake, because the exhaust has to be expelled somewhere. If you have the exhaust brake or the exhaust brake on while you're trying to accelerate, that would be bad. So the truck has to sense that and open up the exhaust to expel all the exhaust fumes. So that's essentially how an exhaust brake works. So the other method that you find modeled in Euro Truck Simulator is the transmission brake, or transmission retarder, I should say. Now, not all the trucks have this. I believe all of them have the exhaust brake. They should all have the exhaust brake. But all the transmissions, the aftermarket transmissions you find that have an R labeled after them, they will all have a transmission retarder. And what that does is it recycles oil into the transmission whenever you activate it. And yeah, it causes back pressure inside the transmission, which slows the wheels down. And you can change that a varying degree as well. Now, the nice thing about that is that there is an unlimited amount of different pressures that you can kind of select to slow down the truck, depending on how much you need to slow down and how much weight you have and everything else, basically. Whereas the Jake only has 3 different settings. The other nice thing about the transmission brake is that that it is a lot quieter. So you can use it in residential areas where you may have noticed on the highway when you come into a city limits, it'll say, truckers, please don't use your jigs, or please don't use your engine brakes. Just because it is so loud and noisy that it's a bit of a bylaw, and you can get fined for that actually. Where the transmission brake, you typically do not get that kind of noise from it. So those are the two different types of brakings you'll find in this. Now obviously there is a third type which you'll find, which is just a transmission brake, but it's just gearing down. So if I'm in 11th gear right now, and I want to start slowing my vehicle down, I can just shift up into 10th, and that transmission will automatically start slowing me down a little bit. And you can do that in your passenger vehicle as well, right? If you have a little 5-speed transmission, you can use that to slow yourself down rather than having to hit your brakes. So I hope I was kind of clear on all the different methods. Kind of interesting to read up on all that stuff again. But yeah, so all those different braking methods, the jig and the transmission brakes, are a great way to save using your standard service brakes. So you don't have to rely on your compressor to fire up and keep the pressure up in your system. Because what you don't want to have happen is when you're going down a hill is that you run out of pressure in your braking system and basically cause you to lose brakes. Now, fortunately, like I said in the previous episode, you do have the spring brake, which will activate if you lose pressure. But back 50 years ago, that wasn't really an option. They just had the air brake system, and you did hear of people losing brakes completely and running themselves off the road. Now, in North America, we typically do have a lot of what we call runoff lanes, runoff roads. So if you're going down a large steep hill for a fairly long period of time, they will always build some kind of a lane or roadway for truckers to get off the road, basically. So it'll be up a large steep hill. So right here, if we're going down a long hill right at this very second, off to the right-hand side or left-hand side, you're probably in this case, but you'd have a lane that may climb up that hill that you could run off into and stop your truck. And usually they're kind of thick, deep sand. In fact, I've seen some that are just downhill along the side of a road where you have thick, deep sand, and as your truck runs off, the tires sink into the sand and it slows the truck down to nothing and it'll stop you. Now you wouldn't want to run through those usually unless it was an emergency, because chances are you're going to require a tow to get back out of there, and a lot of times it'll damage the truck. I have actually seen there's a couple as well. They talk about how, fortunately I've never had to actually take any of these runoff lanes, but they do have a few where it's such a steep embankment that you get to the top of it, you are at risk of rolling back down backwards. So if you were ever in that situation where you had to take this runoff lane, you're always taught that you get to the top, as soon as you're about to come to a complete stop, you crank the wheel over as hard as it can one direction or the other, and that will help prevent the truck rolling back. Otherwise you're doing a dive to get out of the truck when you get to the top, and hopefully it doesn't roll back into oncoming traffic. I haven't seen that modeled anywhere in any of Euro Truck's maps. I'm curious if they have them in Europe or not. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, I don't know. I would think they would. Whoa, stop there. Oh, I'm way too high. I thought I was in third. Oh, you're gonna let him go, eh? Alright. Do what you gotta do, I guess. What are you doing? Why is everybody going here? Yeah, you can wait for me. I got my track, I'm coming through. I'm still liking this Volvo. It's been a good truck for to start with. It was a good choice. I mean, I'm definitely ready to move up at some point. I'm tempted to bite the bullet and just take out a little bit more money out of the loan and upgrade, but I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it or not yet. Lots of fuel. rumble strips there on the inside. Get away from those a bit. Oh, I didn't think I was turning this one. I thought I was going the other side. Perfect. That was a little bit too close. We gotta be getting pretty close. Yeah, not too far. Maybe another 20-30 clicks away here. Yeah, looks like this is our the town we're entering into right up here. Our next exit. Do I take this one? No, that's the. Oh, interesting. Okay. Nice in here, nice looking entryway. Only 50 in here though. Hey, for once I am actually doing the speed limit. Yeah, so technically right now I probably shouldn't be using my exhaust brake because you're in the city limits. You may get fined for that. If you guys are going there, I'll go around. That's fine. A little bit of haze over here. The other thing you'll notice with an exhaust brake as well is that you need to be actively in gear for it to activate. Where I believe with a transmission brake, it will yeah, it'll keep on braking you regardless what gear you've selected. I guess the downside to a transmission brake is that solely that it is more expensive. Exhaust brake here, I'll turn it back on. You can hear as I shift down. It's only when I'm actually in gear that it's actively braking for me, which is it can be a bit of a problem, I guess, if you're trying to slow down in a hurry. Let's see if I can get all the way over here. Perfect, and then I'll cut it right back. Glass panels there. Need to get it over a bit more still. We'll go right out the entryway here. And now we've got to trust our mirrors. And the problem with when you're out this far is you don't want to swing her over too wide and smash your front end right into the fence. That's just embarrassing. Did I get it enough? I don't know if I did. Oh, Nelly. I can't see anything right now because I'm going blind. I don't like going in this side. There we go, I think I'm alright. I think I got a buy. I'm going to cut her back this direction. Oh, just not by much. So I can get a good idea of judging it. I'll lose my mind. Oh, there it is. Okay. Couldn't see the line there for a second. We'll just get it lined up and reset. Yeah, just the way the light looks there, all of a sudden you miss it, eh? That's weird. avoid doing any dry steering if at all possible. And yeah, we'll finish off this shipment here. Should be good right about there. Perfect. Our brake on, we can take off our strobe. Shut our truck down. And we are here. Excellent. So that about does it for another day of Euro Truck Simulator. Please like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. And yeah, hope, we'll see you next time.